3. Going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no! Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course. Today we're going to take a look at 2 replays, and the first one we have is in the Macau. So Tier 8 Russian cruiser. By now we're all aware of this ship, right? Strengths and weaknesses of the ship as well. And you can see that I'm in Atlantic today. So right off the bat, in my Macau. Now I like the Macau. I think this is a pretty great cruiser, but the way that I tend to play it, I usually and generally don't get a whole lot of damage, overall damage done in this ship. And it's generally speaking, it's because I'm firing high explosive, right? And the Macau has 155, so those guns don't do a whole lot of damage as of yet. So it's just, that's what I've found about the ship. I mean, obviously, you know, she's a cruiser, weak. It's a little different for me as well because we talked about before, I don't have the acoustic sonar ability on this ship. You don't have the option of mounting that, so it makes it a little strange, but to be fair, the AA defense on the ship is amazing, so that is always great, especially when there's aircraft carriers in the battle. Now obviously in this battle, we don't have any aircraft carriers. So this replay too, as it unfolds, you're going to notice that the team had a lot to do with this. The team was really good in this battle. It was actually quite surprising. So general strategy here at the beginning is to go down, take A, because this is where the majority of the ships were going. Now I would have preferred to focus B and C to the north, just because, you know, where we spawned, that was the most advantageous place for us to go. We could have capped those points quickly, but instead you can see a majority of my ships are heading down here towards A. We do have some ships that are kind of heading towards B, but they actually end up going towards A as well. So I just decided to go with the group. You can't go off on your own when you're in a cruiser, especially in the Macau like this, right at the beginning of the game. Right now it's different, you know, mid to late game you might have opportunities to go off on your own, but right now no. So I'm going to stick with these guys. I'm going to provide cover for them as well. So biggest thing is I want to try and screen against destroyers. Now I won't be able to do as effective a job as maybe if I was in a Mogami, for example, or the Admiral Hipper, but I'm still going to do what I can. I still have good range, it's just I'm going to need to rely on other people to spot the destroyers further out for me, right? Which is another benefit of actually staying with the group, because ideally if you have some destroyers ahead of the group, or maybe a cruiser that does have the acoustic sonar ability with the group, then you can spot incoming torpedoes or destroyers as well, right, and be able to take shots off at them. So that is the hope here anyway, and that's my plan. Getting closer to A, you can see that the enemy team was quick on B, right? Obviously they have a destroyer in there in B who went in there and just capped it right away. We have our destroyer, one of our destroyers rather, up in the C point, capping that point up there in the north. So that's good, because if you can get, I mean, generally too in these battles you'll find that the teams focus 2 points, you know, pretty heavily, ideally anyway. So that leaves a third point that's usually really undefended or just, you know, forgotten about. And if you can get someone in there to take that point, ideally a destroyer right at the beginning of the battle, things are going to go, or should go, fairly well for you. So you can see an enemy cruiser is coming around the little headland over here, and we do have some torpedoes in the water, but yeah, they miss him. Oh well. This cruiser though is paying a huge price for actually pushing in and around the island, and there he goes. That's our first blood as well, so fantastic for the team. I think it was an enemy Cleveland we ended up killing, so that was pretty great. Now we do see a battleship off in the background, so I'm going to be a little more careful with this guy, but not too much, right? I have a lot of support around me, so don't really need to play it too cautiously, especially at this point in time where I am spotted but I'm not firing at the enemy battleship, so really no need for him to shoot at me just yet. And then there we go, enemy destroyer pops up. So we're going to take a look at this guy. He pops out of view because, you know, he popped a smoke as soon as he became spotted. He's in there hiding somewhere, coming in and out of sight as he's firing his guns. Right there he is again. So I am going to be focusing on this guy rather than the battleship. The battleship isn't really within my range at this point in time anyway, so if I can take out the destroyer, I figure that'll be, you know, pretty great. Take a look though. I mean, I'm sort of far out here, right? away from my support. I know the support is on my starboard side behind me, but I don't really want to continue pushing forward like this, right, and go beyond this island and make the same mistake that the enemy Cleveland made, right? So I'm sort of playing a little cautiously here, using the island that I have directly off to the port side as cover again from the enemies that are pushing into B, right? Because the enemies are resided to the fact that A is ours. They're not really going to take A from us. Look at the amount of ships we have down here at A. Instead, they are going to need to focus B and C if they want to have any chance of taking some points here, right, and getting a lead on us. Because right now we do have the lead. Mostly attributed to the fact that we took out an enemy ship. We just lost our first enemy ship, or our first ship, so we did lose a cruiser, so yeah, that's not so great. We could have used that cruiser, but oh well. I mean, you can see what happened here. He was down here in the south, we lost him, right? He's pushing out there, he was pushing out there unsupported, and either the enemy Nagato or maybe the destroyer got him, so need to keep these people in mind. You can see that we do have another enemy battleship coming into play here as well, so I'm going to start putting shots into this guy, trying to set him on fire as well. I didn't really see the destroyer. I wasn't looking at the minimap at this time, right? So we can see the destroyer on the minimap. I should be firing at the destroyer at the minimap, but I wasn't paying attention. It's not until I actually see him on my screen, there we go, that I see him and start focusing on him as well, right? You can see a number of my allied destroyers are putting shots into him, so if I can start putting shots into him as well, maybe we can get this enemy destroyer gone. That's going to go a long way to let us push forward. There we go. Enemy destroyer is gone. Fantastic. And it's my first kill, so that's not too bad at all. You can see as well at this point what I was talking about in terms of damage done, right? And keep in mind the damage counter at the top isn't going to include fires, right? So this is just the raw damage you're doing with the shells. So most of the time, the majority of the damage you're going to do with the Macau is going to be with fires. It's not going to be reported on that little damage counter. But still, that's what I was talking about at the beginning of the match, where I find that overall damage done isn't really that much, and it's attributed to the guns, I find. Just the guns on this ship, you know, they're not really hard hitting, not at further ranges. I mean, if something does decide to come close, like a cruiser or a destroyer, I guess, but specifically a cruiser. If a cruiser decides to come close, I can load armor piercing and I can get some shots into him and do a whole crap ton of damage. So, not concerned about that. It's just at range, yeah, they're not so effective. Anyway, you can see the enemies are now in a retreat, basically, from A, right? They're getting out of this whole area, pushing up, basically into B and trying to take C. You can see they are actually taking C right now, but we do have a few ships up there who are able to contest the point and reset the cap every now and then as well, which is good. So at least no one is getting any points from that, from the point C, which is what you want right now anyway. As long as we can keep A, ideally push and take B, we can let the enemies have C. We don't necessarily need to hold out at C. As long as we can delay them as long as possible at C, that'll really go in a long way to help us out, and hopefully preserve the ships we have up there as well so they don't die. Another enemy destroyer pops up, right? So I put some shots into him. I miss. He pops out of sight again, but we notice that his engines are gone. So take a look. We can tell as well that the destroyer does have the last stand ability, because he's continuing to move at quite a good pace, but not at full pace, obviously. So if we just account for that, generally speaking, especially when the destroyer's in the smoke, you can still get a few shots here and there. Now that last salvo, I lost sight of them altogether, so those didn't hit anything at all, but that's okay. We're going to switch over and focus on the Colorado now as well, and try and get this guy burnt down, right? Enemy destroyer pops back up. He's going to be my primary target. As long as I see the destroyer, I'll put shots into him as soon as he pops out of sight. Then I'm going to switch back over to one of the battleships, right? Whichever battleship happens to be closest and is posing the biggest threat. Our destroyers, in the meantime, are attacking the enemy Colorado, right? They have torpedoes in the water on the way for that guy, so that is excellent. It looks like we're going to get at least one torpedo hit out of that salvo, so that is great as well. Bring down the enemy Colorado that much more, right? There we go, one torpedo on the Colorado, not too bad. He does manage to turn out of it and avoid the rest of the torpedoes, which is a shame. If he would have gotten hit by maybe one or two more torpedoes, he'd be gone, but oh well, doesn't matter. He's now facing away from us, so this is a great opportunity for me to really chase this guy down, start putting fires into him, right? Because we know that he uses repair ability to repair the flooding damage he just received, but now my next salvos, as long as they can keep setting fire to him, should be able to actually burn them down. He shouldn't be able to repair them, so that is excellent. You can see I did take a pretty big hit from the Nagato. I've basically been ignoring Nagato. Not because I don't want to take him on or anything like that, it's just the Colorado was closer and I was still shooting at the destroyer. So now I have to start, maneuvering and playing a little safer here because, yeah, Colorado just got a big hit on me and it was my own fault. I was driving parallel to the Colorado, presenting the broadside to him, right? So that's my own fault. I should have known better. I just wasn't paying attention to where his cannons were pointed, right? Didn't see them actually turn towards me. But that's okay, I can start doing some defensive maneuvering here to try and get the Colorado gone. In the meantime, my team managed to take B. Fantastic. You can see that the delay action at C was able to hold out for a little while. The enemies do have C, but unfortunately they did take out the ally ships we had up there, so that was kind of unfortunate. However, in the meantime, while all this was going on, my ally ships who were down at A are regrouping at B and managed to take back B. We have this one Colorado to deal with, so if we can get this guy gone, then we can switch over to the Nagato. This is where I thought it was all going to go wrong, of course. Pull off, traditional Thotgor move here, and just plowed right into an island. Didn't see it, it just came out of nowhere. Get the kill on the Colorado, managed to burn him down. I'm in a reverse now as well. You can see I'm getting lucky in that the Nagato isn't even pointing his guns at me, so no one really saw what I did here, which is fantastic. Because this was pretty dumb anyway. But at least I managed to survive. So I'm going I'm going full speed apparently. Now I've got myself off the rocks, or so I thought, right? Yeah. Have to continue to reverse here, just sort of shimmy myself off the rock, hope that no one is looking, cover my face, and hope that no one thinks that I'm an idiot. But oh well, probably am. Enemy Macau now is putting some pressure on B, so it's at this point that I'm starting to think, do I continue to shoot at this Nagato, or should I be switching over to the Macau? The Macau is contesting B, or rather was contesting B, so it might be advantageous to do something about him, but I can't see him right now, right, because he popped smoke. So while I can't see him, I may as well continue with the Nagato. There we go, the Nagato starts to realize that, hey, the Macau over here is dumb. Grounded himself, that's me. So he starts putting shots into me. Luckily though, I was already moving forward, able to pop my smoke right away, so break that sort of contact and he can't see me anymore, so that's fantastic. Now I'm actually maneuvering around as well, so if he does fire at me, maybe I'll be able to avoid the shots. So fantastic, managed to get myself off the rocks, so that's always great, and now I'm going to start pushing into B, helping my allies up here secure and hold B. Because at this point as well, we have the advantage in cap, so we don't need to continue towards C if we didn't want to. There's not really any need. Now in this situation where we outnumber the enemy ships by a considerable amount, we do actually have the option of pushing forward if we wanted to. I don't think it would be too reckless to do so, because we have good ships remaining. The ships we do have remaining are on fairly high health, obviously except that Thotgor right there, right? But if we did decide to push forward, I think it would be for the best. We'd be able to pull it off without any risk of losing. But you do want to be careful because they do have 2 enemy destroyers remaining, right? So need to keep that in mind. Right now, though, my plan is just to get into B and see what my team does. If my team is content to just sit here and keep B, then that's what I'm going to do. On the minimap, there is an enemy Mahan, right? So one of my allies pinged him for me. There he is. So we're going to try and get this guy gone. He's trying to come in here and B, circle in around us and get torpedoes off, right? Do some damage to us back here. So we can't let this happen. At the same time, I'm on fairly low health, so a destroyer could kill me. So I don't want that to happen either. So I'm going to try and keep my distance. Luckily, the enemy, or my ally Thotgor, is on lower health than me, so the enemy Mahan is actually focused on my allied Thotgor there, trying to take that guy out instead of focusing on me, which is my saving grace here anyway. Managed to finish off the enemy Mahan, so that was great. The Thotgor survived as well, so that's not too bad, and I'm up to 3 kills now as well. Perfect. There's another enemy battleship off in the distance, sort of floating around in C, taking shots off at us here in B. So we need to keep this guy in mind as well, because he could potentially take a sneaky shot off at me right when I'm in a turn or something and take me out like that if I'm not paying attention. Only 1 enemy destroyer remaining. We know where he is, so Yeah, he's up there in the north. Not a big deal for me. You can see one of my destroyers is up there engaging him as well, so that's pretty good. There are only 2 enemy ships remaining. There's the battleship. They've got 1 cruiser remaining. That is also good, because now we can just focus down these guys. You can see that my team basically did decide to push forward into sea. We never actually made it to sea, however, because we destroyed the enemy ships, got enough points, and as you can see, we've won. So 3 kills, not too shabby at all. 5,600 experience is always great as well. 6 fires, 361,000 credits. Look at the team list though, right? Only 2 people managed to get below 1,000 experience, so this really was a team battle. And overall damage done wasn't terrific, obviously, like I had said, but still good enough to get the victory for the team. Overall, not a bad battle. Moving into the next clip, we can see that we are on big race. I'm in my Minakaze today, just looking to, I think this again was during Pearl missions, you know, trying to get the destroyer victories maybe, or maybe this was just, you know, a run to do some damage. I'm not sure. These replays actually that I've been showing over the past few days, these are ones that I've had stockpiled for quite a while, and I'm just trying to get them out here, right? There's no need for me to hold on to these and use up the space. So I'm just trying to work my way through them, because they are really good battles actually. Anyway, Minakaze on big race. So this should prove to be quite a great battle, right? I have had some excellent, spectacular games on this map in my Minakaze. It just seems this is just going to be fantastic. We know it. So in a destroyer, obviously I'm going to go down to the south into Destroyer Alley, right? There are a number of enemy destroyers on the team. You can see that there are 5 enemy destroyers, so we need to keep this in mind. We have 4, but still, going down here in Destroyer Alley, if all the enemy destroyers decide to come down here, things can get hectic really fast. A lot of torpedoes are in the water, and it doesn't matter how skillful you might think you are, you know, you just can't dodge that many torpedoes. So we're going to try and keep all of this in mind so that we can stay alive. You can see I do have an allied destroyer with me as well. He's moving down here into Destroyer Island with me. It's a Wicket, so it's an American destroyer, so he has pretty good guns on that thing. Not as good as a Clemson with the final hull upgrade, but still should be able to gun down a few things. And we can see, of course, enemy destroyers starting to pop in. Luckily, my aircraft carrier was able to get some fighters over there and spot these destroyers, so we had a general sense of what we'd be facing. So we can see that there are 2 destroyers on the way that we know of that we're going to have to deal with. So it shouldn't be too bad. One of them was a Russian destroyer, I believe, so as long as I don't get too close to that guy, I should be able to torp him. Well, I'm still being careful though, right? The Russian destroyers at these early tiers, their guns are pretty formidable. Even though I'm in a tier 5, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? The guns on the Minakaze, as I'm sure you are all aware, are not that fantastic. It's really, really situational as to when you're going to use them. So starting to line up torpedoes now on the enemy destroyer, right? He doesn't see me. As long as I can manage to stay behind this island here, maybe shoot off the torpedoes, surprise him, get the kill, he won't see it coming, right? So there we go. Torpedoes are away. He only spots me now, now that I've actually gotten 2 salvos away. Gonna get the 3rd one away as well, because obviously he's maneuvering against my torpedoes, and I don't want that to happen. And in the meantime, my guns are pointed in this direction, so why not fire them off? Yeah, here comes the island once again. Doesn't matter though. Did manage to finish off the enemy destroyer, so fantastic. Didn't get the first blood on that though. Whatever, managed to get a devastating strike, so good. You can see though that we do have an enemy cruiser here as well, right? We have an enemy Phoenix putting some pressure on my wickets here as well. Gonna try and do something about this guy if I can. My torpedoes are almost reloaded, so maybe if I can just get a few salvos off at that guy, might be able to actually sink him. There we go. I grounded myself again. Yes, I did. Fantastic, Thotgor. But I did manage to get all my torpedoes off the Phoenix, so assuming he stays going in that direction, I should hit him with at least 1 torpedo, maybe might even kill him, who knows. No. I do end up hitting him with 1 torpedo, but I don't actually get the kill, because he was smart, right? He maneuvered out of it. Luckily though, my Allied destroyer managed to get some torpedoes off before the Phoenix took him out, and there we go. Allied destroyer finishes off the Phoenix. Fantastic. Now I just have to face off against this enemy Isakaze here, so tier 4 Japanese destroyer against my Minakaze, little brain fart there. Anyway, the Isakaze does have better guns than the Minakaze, because they, you know, they'll turn faster and you're able to use them more. However, obviously the Isakaze doesn't have this maneuverability and the hit points that the Minikaze has. Now, the enemy destroyer did manage to shoot off torpedoes at me, but I get really lucky, right? I'm able to splice those torpedoes. It was fairly close, but I still managed to pull it off and don't actually end up dying, so fantastic. Now, the enemy Isokaze we know is still in the smoke. We do see another enemy destroyer in and out of visibility in behind the smoke over there as well. So now's the time, right? I'm on a little over 50% health. I can't repair the fire, so I'm going to burn down, probably get a little below 50% health. But now's the time to figure out how worth it is it, right? Well, with that kill on the enemy Isokaze, I figure that it's probably pretty worth it to go in there and finish off the last enemy destroyer. So fantastic. I'm going to go in here and do it. Well, the last enemy destroyer over here that I know of anyway. So I decided, yeah, we're going to go over here and do it. It's worth it. If I wouldn't have killed the enemy Isokaze though, I probably would have avoided this whole situation, just because I didn't really feel comfortable taking on two enemy destroyers at once, all by myself, right? Because the majority of my allied ships are in the north and kind of in the center, fighting it out with the enemies that are in the north and center, right? Down here, I'm basically alone. I can count on some air support from my aircraft carrier because I'm the closest ship to him, so hopefully I can count on some, but generally speaking alone. So I didn't want to take the chance and kill and try and take on the two enemy destroyers. Now that it's just me and this guy, figure why not. So I'm launching off torpedoes. I am obviously spotted as well, right? The distances here are pretty close. So we're going to start firing guns. We do see that it's an enemy Russian destroyer, so a tier 4 Russian destroyer. So we know that if I stay fairly far away, I think it's 4 kilometers is their range on the torpedo, so if I stay 5 kilometers away, I'll be fine. He won't be able to tort me, so that shouldn't be too bad. His torpedoes have already been launched. I managed to avoid them all, thankfully. Get fairly lucky there as well, in that I decided to take I decided to hug the island as I was coming around, right? My torpedoes are almost reloaded, so this is looking good. Managed to launch one shot off, 2 shots off. We're not going to get the 3rd shot off, but I don't even really need it because those are on its way. There we go. And I managed to kill the enemy destroyer. Fantastic. So now I own the little destroyer alley down here in the south. It's all mine. So now that I have all this, perfect and excellent time to push forward into the enemy base, see what we can see, and also maybe take out the enemy aircraft carrier if he's hiding in and out here. Now, something that we're going to find out as we get closer to the enemy base here is it turns out that one of the enemy destroyers is AFK. Yes, he is. The enemy Minikaze is AFK, so we're going to see him shortly, but for now we are going to launch torpedoes here at this enemy battleship because he's fairly close to me. Didn't really want to have to deal with this guy, so my torpedoes are away. The enemy battleship does spot me briefly, but because I've turned behind the island, break line of sight, right, so he can't really see me at this time. We do see the enemy aircraft carrier off in the distance, so we know that he's way back there. I might be able to get him and cap the base at the same time. So that's sort of what I'm thinking about now, assuming my torpedoes take out this battleship. I need the battleship to die in order for me to be able to move forward, right? So I do get 3 nice torpedo hits on the enemy battleship. That's not too bad at all. Enemy battleship is really close, so he can obviously spot me. What I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to flank him, just trying to get to one side of him here, but he's turning, so okay, alright, I'll just match up with his turn here and launch torpedoes at him. I do have smoke, but I'm holding off on it right now, right? Because I don't necessarily need it. It's not until this point that I'm going to need it, where I've dropped speed, I need to turn and get away and break line of sight, right? So that's why I've saved it until that point. Torpedoes are on the way for the enemy battleship. Hopefully I can manage to kill this guy. If not, one of my allies hopefully will be able to manage to kill the guy. The enemy battleship is in wild maneuvers right now, so he managed to avoid all of my torpedoes. Pretty good maneuvering by that captain, gotta say, and managed to avoid all of my allied torpedoes as well. So okay, alright, this guy's going to be a little more difficult. A little smarter than your average player, apparently. So we'll shoot some more torpedoes off at him, right? See what happens. I don't like shooting torpedoes in this sort of situation where the enemy is driving away from me. That is generally a bad idea, but I decide to do it anyway. At this point in time, enemy battleship has had enough with our destroyers, right? So he's loaded high explosive. You can tell by the shells that just hit me. I got really lucky, though, in that it didn't actually kill me. Really lucky. So we're hanging on here by a thread. Managed to repair the fire with the cooldown. We do see my torpedoes on the way for the battleship, but again, that guy managed to splice it and avoid them all, right? Crafty maneuvering by this captain, but good show as well. There's only 3 enemy ships remaining. There's the AFK destroyer that I had talked about, there's the battleship, and then there's the enemy aircraft carrier. Enemy aircraft carrier just died. One of my allies took him down, so fantastic. We still have the enemy battleship, Wyoming, over here, but he's on really low health. So if we can just all start putting shots into him, we should be able to get him down. There's the AFK enemy destroyer that I was talking about, right? So there he is there. I'm going to launch torpedoes off at him. I figure, what the hell, right? While I'm shooting guns at the enemy battleship, may as well get some torpedoes into the water for the AFK player here, because the battleship, I mean, he's going down at any point in time now as well. Also, there's the whole greedy aspect of it as well, right? I want that kill. So my torpedoes are already on the way, and I knew as soon as the enemy battleship went down, everyone would start shooting at this guy. So I'm shooting at the enemy destroyer here as well, getting all my guns turned over, or turned around, right, so they can fire at him. But my torpedoes are moving in. Here they come. Fairly easy job to get this last kill here, and I think that puts me to 4 kills. Fantastic. Match over, and we've won. And I got myself a Confederate in that last kill as well. Awesome battle. Wasn't too shabby at all. Mostly, obviously, I'm proud of just the kills and the experience earned. I mean, I know that I don't really use the experience that I'm earning on my elite ships like this, but it's nice to have it there in case I ever do decide to just, blow a bunch of money, convert a bunch of experience. Anyway, that is today's video. Do hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any comments as always that you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you are not a subscriber, and as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.